EOD work, I always describe it as like playing like high-speed chess with your life. You have to make the exact right decision under extreme pressure, and you're lucky if it only kills you.
Today's guest is a decorated special operations veteran who spent 21 years in EOD, aka Explosive Ordnance Disposal.
The grotesque beauty of a mine, whether it's on the ground or in the ocean, once you think it's there, you have to treat that whole area. You know, like kids play that game like the floor is lava, right? Like that's what you're doing.
He's seen the full evolution of battlefield threats from the inside over those 21 years.
You know, you and I could go over to Home Depot this afternoon, and by tomorrow morning, we're in the sea mine business.
Literally one of them is all it takes to shut down the Strait again.
All over again. And not just for days or weeks, we're talking months.
He also happens to be Director of Manufacturing, Logistics, and Operational Planning here at Firestorm.
Before the drones were the big thing, it was mines. Warfare is cycle, and they're going to go back to what works, and landmines worked for over 100 years. It's not going away anytime soon. Let's envision the great victory day. Ukraine has pushed the Russians out, like out of Crimea, out of the Donbass, out of everything. Ukrainians still aren't going to occupy that ground. It is now the most densely mined country on the planet.
Everybody, please welcome Matt Walther.
I hate to say this. This is the worst answer, Dan. We're going to pay this price in blood.
Matt, thanks for joining us today.
Happy to be here. Thanks for the opportunity, man.
Why don't you start by just telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so Matt Walther, currently Firestorm Director of Internal Operations for Logistics and Manufacturing, I think is my latest title. But came over here about a year ago after retiring from the Navy. I spent 21 years as a Navy EOD technician, so bomb technician. Worked with pretty much every ground combat unit in the U.S. military, aside from the Tier 1 assets, and had a pretty entertaining time doing that. Retired after 21 years and wrapped up my MBA at UCSD, Radio School of Management, fantastic program. And then came over here. It was the place I wanted to be. I think you and I started talking, man, a couple of years ago. You put me in touch with Peter Sable, and we started talking explosives, and just kind of kept my tabs on the company. And job opened up and jumped on it. So it's been a wild ride, but it's been fun.
Okay, let's go back to the beginning, right?
Yeah.
When did you decide to join the military?
So I was in college, Colorado State. And when 9/11 hit, I was a senior. And so I kind of didn't know what I wanted to do. I had this like vague idea of going off being like a DEA agent and, killing guerrillas in Colombia. So
sounds fun.
Yeah, not boring again, right? And 9/11 hit my senior year, so I decided to take a few years to get serve my country. Kind of had some ideas like special operations, like what's out there, and then as I was going into it, I realized that hey, there's this really big need for EOD technicians. Like IEDs, improvised explosive devices, are starting to be the thing, the major killer on the battlefield, like the perfectly designed asymmetric threat. And so ended up over doing EOD work, and that was an absolutely wild ride because EOD work, I always describe it as like playing like high-speed chess with your life. You have to make the exact right decision under extreme pressure. And you're lucky if it only kills you. Like that's a set of circumstances just absent most other places. So, but what it did afford me is it afforded me the opportunity to deploy 2 times to the Marines. After I did a couple of deployments to the Marines to Anbar Province, rolled over, started working with mainly NSW. Then I worked a couple times with some of the Green Beret teams, both on the pure ODA side and then some of their tiered units focused on WMD and hostage rescue stuff. And then closed out my operational time actually doing underwater mines, so mine countermeasures. And that team was actually, it was like it was supposed to be like a relaxing job, but I mean, we still did, German sea mines in the Baltic.
Wow.
Like still functional mines.
80 years later.
Yeah, 80 years later.
How's that team doing over the last 4 months in the Strait?
Those teams are extremely well employed right now.
I
Let's
bet.
just say that. Extremely well employed.
Probably a lot of stress on them too, to go find what, if any, is out there.
Yeah. Well, and see, that's the problem. I mean, it's like with a mine, right? And it's like the grotesque beauty of a mine, whether it's on the ground or in the ocean, is that once you think it's there, you have to treat that whole area. Like kids play that game, like the floor is lava, right? Like that's what you're doing. And clearing it becomes a very, very tactically demanding problem set. Extremely, extremely complex problem.
Do you have any
set.
insight into how many mines the Iranians actually put in the Strait? If any?
So this is, again, back to the point. They could have been dumping 55-gallon drums with concrete over the side. It doesn't matter. We still have to treat it like it's a sea mine, right?
Fascinating.
Like we have to treat it. And if a U.S. destroyer runs over it, you're like, well, that sucks for us. Like that ship's designed to take that hit. If an oil tanker runs over it, oh man.
Literally one of them.
Literally one of them
is all it takes to shut down the Strait again.
Yep. All over again. And not just for days or weeks, but we're talking months.
Yep.
And because you have the environmental impacts, you have, the freedom of navigation stuff, the fear factor,
of course, is
absurd.
And then insurance companies run the world. So how are you going to insure something going through the Strait?
Right. You're just not, or you're going to pay through the nose for it.
Yeah.
So again, it comes back to risk tolerance. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm sure there's some classified estimates for it, but even if they put one in, I mean, like the brilliance would be to put one in, make it a big media event and go, and by the way, we put 100 out there and the other 100 are just oil drums. Like who cares? Doesn't matter. We have to find every single one of them. The consequences are too high.
I mean, it's pretty incredible. I mean, I won't say it's like a low tech, but it is a pretty low tech way to kind of control an incredibly valuable and critical.
It's exceptionally low tech.
Yeah.
I mean,
pathway.
You and I could go over to Home Depot this afternoon and by tomorrow morning, we're in the sea mine business.
Hey, clear my schedule.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
I know, exactly.
Let's go do it, man. But it is low tech. Like the German sea mines, I mean, they're still out there. They are still functional mines. Mm-hmm. There was 250,000 mines laid in the Baltics between World War I and World War II. And do you think all of those were cleared?
Of course not.
No.
I mean, growing up in coastal San Diego, once every 5 years, we'd get a World War II mine just wash up on the beach.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys would get called. And I remember seeing one in Encinitas. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. I remember I used to live in Imperial Beach and I remember being down there one morning and just like walking my dog, getting the morning cup of coffee and like walking down the IB pier and I look over and it was like one of those double take things, like your brain won't process something because they're like, that's not supposed to be here.
It's not supposed to be there and you're not like, wearing your, exactly.
Ah, shit. Now, it actually turned out to be one of ours, training mine that broke loose. But again, you got to treat it like it's real, right?
Yeah.
So
okay. So 2 questions, like you're king for a day. How do you effectively use mines if you're the US? No, let's not talk about the other guys. How should we be using mines?
So minefields are deployed in one of 2 ways. They're deployed offensively and defensively, whether it's oceans or it's land, right? Mm-hmm. And you use them to channelize your movements or the enemy's movements, right? So if you are a battlefield commander, you use mines to do your prep of the battlefield of going, hey, let's talk about early days Ukraine, right? Mm-hmm. Like limited amount of artillery. They're 155 and the Russian 157 cells were in very, very short supply for the Ukrainians. The brilliant move is to go, hey, we've laid mines all across these roads right here, but this one area, I have got all of my artillery dialed for this. Mm-hmm. So I can do essentially battlefield resource management of going, you die if you go over here, you die if you go over there, but I've picked this channelized area that you have to assault through. And when you assault through it, because I know you have to, I'm going to kill you with my artillery. That's also an open lane offensively to go, when I go assault, I now get to pick this lane. Whether it's a road or whether it's just a random terrain feature, whatever it is, like I get to pick this terrain feature. And so then you can use it to steal the initiative from the enemy and take it back and use it to your advantage. So if I were king for a day, let's think about this one. Let's pick Taiwan. Let's just talk through like, how would I use mines in Taiwan? Honestly, to affect the beach landing, mines cross the beach. I think the Taiwanese aren't planning and the Chinese aren't planning against it. They're both really, really foolish. But again, if I were the Taiwanese and you're going, hey, this is coming, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to rapidly lay these minefields and I'm going to let them know I'm doing it. And I'm going to make a blunder. And they're going to see my blunder of, oh, there's a channel here. Because remember, you've got to have your own channels to assault through. And I'm going to pick that. And that's where I'm just going to do the drone hellscape, to use the old, the old phrase of like, this is just where I'm going to make them die right here. So now you run into a little bit like mines in the Western construct, how we think of them, versus the Eastern construct, the Russian, Soviet, Chinese model. We care how many people die going through a minefield. The Chinese, historically, like let's look at Korea.
Human wave.
And they'll go, that guy got shot. I'm going to run over his back. And then I'm going to get shot and somebody's going to run over my back. And that is how they train. That's how their doctrine is written. So we can't apply the same risk-taking preferences to the enemy that we have. That means that we need a denser minefield because we literally have to stop their material from coming through. Like we literally have to stop it there. We can't just hold them at risk. We actually have to make it hurt. So I'm not sure if I'm going over this well enough. But.
No, I'm understanding it. I mean, so then like doctrinally, I guess, in your opinion, have we built and thought through like what would be required to pull that off effectively? I
don't think so. And in fact, I know so. Like, just let's purely look at equipment, right? One, we obliged ourselves to the Ottawa Convention on landmine bans. We did not sign, but we obliged ourselves to it. We have very quietly walked our way back from that. And we have mines in our inventory, but we don't train mining doctrine. And a lot of that is because we train maneuver warfare of a small, extremely lethal unit, whether it's a soft team, whether it's Marines, whether it's ships. Like we take exquisite units, we maneuver, and through coordination and fires, we win, even against larger forces, right? Gulf War I. Therefore, doctrinally, mines don't work as well for us.
Interesting.
We're going to have to change that, period. And end of discussion, we're going to have to change that. So let's look at equipment. The Soviets and then the Russians loved landmines. Absolutely love them. Like standard issue to an infantry guy would be an anti-tank mine or a slew of AP mines.
Is that a legacy from World War II?
Yeah.
Fighting Panzers and Tigers?
Absolutely. Because again, you're just thinking attrition, So they have never stopped developing their mine laying equipment. They have never stopped like modernizing it, not just the equipment that lays it, but the mines themselves. And so they're really, really good at it. And that serves them very well doctrinally. And we don't have that down to the lowest levels, in my understanding, right? Now, I've been out for a few years, so, caveat my opinions on this. But I have yet to see cohesive studies and certainly doctrinal shifts and then training shifts to actually get it to, that 19-year-old grunt going, I understand how to lay a minefield, when to lay a minefield, and how to maneuver through a minefield. Like, I haven't seen that crossed over. But again, I used to be cool. I'm not cool anymore.
Not a cool guy anymore.
I'm not a cool guy anymore.
All right. So how do you think autonomous systems have kind of changed, let's say, the broader EOD landscape?
They've changed them. I don't think they've changed them enough. I think there's so much potential there for it. Underwater systems, certainly we have probably a 20-year lead on UGVs for what's happening for UUVs, because we've been working that problem set. Like that never really stopped even during GWAT. It didn't get a lot of press, didn't get a lot of interest, but we've actually turned over a couple generations of legacy systems for unmanned systems there. Where we are struggling is closing the gap, right? So like we can do, to use the old parlance of like find, fix, finish, right? Mm-hmm. We can do the find and the fix. We can't necessarily finish it. To finish it right now, there's not an at-scale solution for it, whether it's sea mines or whether it's surface-laid mines. Mm-hmm. Surface-laid mines are harder. We have less technology that's been put against it. You know, I know I've talked to you previously about mm-hmm. efforts for like drones, you know, doing change detect with AI, you know, like field employed AI stuff. Like that's able to be done, but we still aren't finishing it well. Just because you know it's there, you kind of go, well, okay, now I know the channelized area they want me to work through. That's basically going, well, I know where I'm going to die. I'm not going to die over there. I'm going to die over here now. Mm-hmm. But we don't have a way to now return freedom maneuver to the good guys, to our side on the battlefield.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think you're seeing, like, especially in Ukraine, like creative ways they've used a bunch of mines too. So they'll basically like let the Russians come in, then they'll drop mines on their escape route so that when they drive them out, they're walking
them right back through it.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I mean, again, you created that channelized area and we gave them those cluster munitions, by the way. You know, like artillery rounds come up, they burst open, you get scatter munitions all over the ground. And now, the hard part of the Ukrainians, which until recently, they didn't have the initiative on the battlefield, and I think that's changing, thankfully. But pushing the Russians back through their own lines into that is an issue. So, yeah, I mean, you could see it employed in a lot of ways, I think, but it's a way that I just don't see the U.S. military really biting into. Because we haven't felt it.
Is it feeling it? That was going to be my follow-up question.
Yeah.
How do you force the change?
Yeah, I hate to say this. This is the worst answer, Dan. We're going to pay this price in blood. Mm-hmm. If we don't start looking at 2023 Ukraine and going, why are tanks off the battlefield? People go, drones, right? No. Before drones, it was mines. Mm-hmm. Before the drones were the big thing, it was mines. And we've got to pay attention to the drone threat, 100%, obviously. Look at the company we're at, right? We care deeply about that. But warfare is a cycle, and they're going to go back to what works. And the landmines worked for over 100 years. It's not going away anytime soon.
Especially as the Ukrainians move towards grabbing land with unmanned vehicles with a 50 cal.
Yep.
I mean, we're coming full circle to it. Right?
100%. Yeah. And so, like, let's envision the great victory day. Ukraine has pushed the Russians out, like out of Crimea, out of the Donbass, out of everything. Ukrainians still aren't going to occupy that ground. The Russians have it is now the most and most densely mined country on the planet.
Taking that from Cambodia, I guess, or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, like, what a terrible title, right? You know, but yeah, they took it from Cambodia and Laos.
Yeah, it's crazy if you go to those. I went to the backpacked in those countries years ago, and they're literally like, that is a minefield.
Yeah.
Do not walk off the fucking path.
Yeah. And by the way, nobody's walked over there for 50 years.
Yeah.
Because nobody cares enough to demine that.
I know. You got like a small group of like 20 French people trying. But like, to your point, that's where you're actually going to need technology if we're going to solve these things.
Yeah. And I mean, God bless them for going and doing it, right? Yeah. Like, God bless them for going out there and going, hey, I'm going to, go do demining. I had a bunch of buddies do it. It pays pretty decently. You get to live in the field. Like, cool. But it doesn't scale at all. Like, we need a technological fix to this. And the key part of that is a low-cost attritable system that can finish the device that's in the ground or in the water. But until we have something like that at scale, we're not going to get anywhere. And the problem is that we're not even going to care about that. I mean, cynically, my opinion, like, U.S. military is not going to care about that until we start losing people to big minefields. And like, I hate to say that, but that's just where I see things going.
Let's change topics on that really happy note. Talk to me. This is something I like to talk with a lot of veterans who've gotten out. Like, how was the transition like made it easier for you? I mean, I knew you went to UCSD.
Yeah.
You did the Honor Foundation.
Yep.
Like what worked and what didn't work?
Yeah, awesome question. I really, really appreciate you asking that. Because on one hand, as a vet, when you're first getting out, you're like, and fuck it, I got this. I can fucking do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start looking at like the big wide world and you go, I'm not gonna say I'm scared, but if I were scared, this would be the moment I would be scared. You know, it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of knew that as I was getting out. So I was like, I don't know what I want to do next. The MBA was a great place to go. UCSD is a fantastic program.
Totally.
And it was like, that was like my first introduction to like, these are civilians.
Mm-hmm.
You can't talk about killing people in front of them. They get very upset.
They get weird.
Yeah. I remember I made a joke in my first small group, and I made a joke about like, hey, we got to solve this problem. There's a lot of ways we can skin this cat. You know, we just got to pick up the pieces when we're done. And I look across and this one woman has gone, and I love her. We're still friends to this day. Has just gone like blank stare. And I was like, oh.
Can't kill the cat, bro.
Yeah. And she's like, we say there's a lot of ways to pet the cat now. And I was like, oh boy, I'm in a okay. Like, and I thought I'd already taken my sense of humor from like a 10 to a 1. Yeah. I was like, I gotta go negative with that sense of humor. Gotta go negative.
Okay, so we're not allowed to skin the cat anymore. I guess that means my favorite one, which is eat the elephant a bite at a time.
Yeah. You know, that's a little
elephants.
That's a little taboo, man.
Yeah,
it's a little taboo.
Yeah.
So that was hard, but honestly, from that, that was sort of my like, okay, here's what, you know, quote unquote, like real people look like. And I didn't think I was a really institutionalized guy, but 21 years is, you're institutionalized. And then honestly, the Honor Foundation was fantastic with that.
Yeah.
Honor Foundation did this great job of going, what do you care about in life? And that's where they started from, like, what matters to you? And you come out and you're like, oh, fuck, money and family. And they kind of go, okay, cool, let's work through this. And so they kind of give you all the things that you care about. And it turns out maybe it's not money and family. It turns out you're like, no, I got to have a job that has a meaning and a purpose. And I got to like the people I work with. And I got to have some flexible work hours because I got this messed up family, you know, like, and you kind of work through all this stuff and they kind of go, oh, okay. You're like, well, shit, I'm only good at like taking apart bombs and shooting people. Like, how do I get there? They're like, no. You're better at more than that. And they take you through this other kind of serious developments. And like, you came in and talked, and, you know, a lot of other great folks came in and talked, and we're like, hey, here's what you're actually good at. Like, you're good at organizing. You're good at like getting mission and purpose and objectives and pulling success from chaos. And you kind of go, okay, yeah, I'm kind of good at that. Hey, cool. Why don't you go look at, like, here's a mentor. Like, why don't you kind of look at some jobs in this world? And then you start seeing these jobs and you're like, oh shit, I actually could go do that. And then, you know, very, very thankfully, I show up at a place like this and I'm like, dude, this meets it. This meets it all. And I know it works. Because I've already done the work. I've already done the work with Honor Foundation and go, yeah, no, this actually is what you're looking for, Matt. And you kind of go, yeah, this is what I'm looking for. So that was my transition from it. I think in a lot of ways, I'm still going through it.
Yeah.
Somebody made a really good distinction to me at one point, and they were like, hey, you know, before you came in, you were a civilian, and then you were active duty. You don't go back to being a civilian. You're a veteran. Mm. And not that that's like a classist thing. He's like, but you have to be aware of that. And that's a value. You know, there's things you're going to be good at, and there's things you're going to suck at. Like, not a technical guy. Like, I can turn wrenches on my truck, but when I walk around, like, the engineers in this building, I mean, the IQ of some of these folks, I'm like, I'm going to shut my mouth. That dude is way smarter than I'm ever going to hope to be. But what I've got is a lot of field experience.
There it is.
You know,
double down on what you're good at is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. But I think recognizing what you're good at, like what you're truly good at, like you didn't hire me to take apart bombs, you know, you didn't hire me to shoot people. I don't think you did anyway. No. If we did, we got to turn the podcast off. But you hired me because I can do other things. And I didn't know what those other things were until the Honor Foundation.
How do you see like leadership coming from your old, like what you've done is you've come in, you've identified a problem and raised your hand with a solution, and we moved you out of literally building weapons into like being an operations person because you identified it. Like, is that something you kind of like learned in the military that you've seen be able to like be applied very quickly into a world? And obviously this is not a big corporate area. So if you're good at your job, like we obviously give you enough rope to hang yourself. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that anymore either.
It's a long leash or a short, it's a long leash or a short noose, right? Fantastic point, because what I realized was I'm really good at figuring out what's the objective. Like we call it like shooting 5-meter targets or 10-meter targets. Like, what do I have to get done right now? Like to survive this right now. And figuring out, okay, amidst everything else that's going on, what is the next thing we have to do? And kind of pulling order from chaos, or not even order from chaos, but pulling a success from the chaos. Chaos can keep going. Like, I don't, like whatever. But I'm gonna get this win right here. Yep. And then from that win, I'm gonna look around and kind of go, okay, where's my next set of targets? Okay, that's what I got to knock down next, and that's what I got to knock down next. And so that was like day in and day out of being an EOD tech, specifically a team leader, and then moving up to being a platoon commander, team chief, platoon commander, and then an OPSO. Like, you just did that on bigger and bigger and bigger scales with slightly different mission scopes, but that's what it was. Just going, what do I need to knock down right now to keep the mission moving forward? So yeah, that was definitely a transition. I think the other piece, right or wrong, but I kind of identified what I thought was a need in the company, and I raised my hand. And that's another piece in the military where they go, I remember this so distinctly. I was a new guy in my first unit, and one of the senior chiefs, who's getting ready to retire, like pulls all the new guys over, and he's like, hey, I'm about to life you, right? Which is, like coming in, I'm about to give you some life advice, like sit down, shut up, pay attention. And I thought it was going to be some cool guy stuff, like first time you kill a man, breathe deeply, inhale his soul, like just, I didn't know what to think, right? He says this to us, and the first thing he says is he's like, don't ever bitch unless you have 2 solutions you're willing to execute, because somebody's going to call your shit one day. You're going to be sitting around in the team room, and you're going to be like, it should be like this fucking thing or that fucking thing. And you're going to say it, and you're not going to know your CO is standing behind you, and you go, hey, good job, new guy. I just delegated it to you. Go execute. And you're going to go, oh, fuck. He's like, so don't ever bitch unless you have 2 solutions you're willing to execute.
That is a great life lesson.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. And I've literally carried that for 20, 25 years now, because, and
wish you told me that 20 years ago, bro.
You might not be here. I don't know.
True.
You might be doing something else.
True.
Yeah. So I carried that along, and it's like, you could hear, like not bad, but you're like, I knew where the pain points were, the company. So I was like, you know what? I'm done bitching about this. I'm going to put a solution out there. And if the company sees fit that I'm the guy to execute, cool. And if the day comes, they're like, hey, Matt, you're not the guy to execute. They're like, cool. I'll go back to making bombs for you. Doesn't hurt my feelings. So that was one. And then it was in the same lesson too, right? And the same lifing lesson. And he goes, perfection is the enemy of the good. And we're all like, what the hell does that mean? He's like, everybody in this room is a top achiever. He's like, what you do, you wake up in the morning and you don't accept less than perfection for yourself. He's like, you're never going to get it. He's like, and pursuing perfection in one thing means you're going to lose sight of what actually matters, of the good of the mission. So he's like, don't ever be afraid to go, you know what? Good enough, keep moving. Like, good enough, keep moving. And so those are like 2 very early life lessons that I learned in the Navy that I've carried with me since. And it's not necessarily the first one, but the second one, I do find it interesting, like juxtaposition with engineering culture, because engineers are looking for perfection, and that's great. That's awesome. That's what we need them to do. Right. And there's a lot of mental horsepower at this company behind that. But at some point you kind of go, hey man, we got to get something across the finish line here. Super important balancing act, right? Super important balancing act. And there's heartache around it, right? Like there's heartburn around that, but we got to execute. Kind of going back to a previous question, one of the things I think veterans bring is I've done a lot with my life. Like I didn't necessarily want to get out of the Navy, but I did for family. But I can very honestly look back on it and go, man, I accomplished a ton. I can check my ego at the door. Like, I'm going to go home at the end of the day. I have an amazing relationship with my son. I have a wonderful wife. Cool. I can check my ego at the door and just go solve problems. That runs into occasionally, like, I really like to fucking win.
Yep.
I hate losing. So that gets me in trouble on occasion. But I think it's another thing that, like, as a veteran, that you bring to the table of, like, I can check my ego at the door and just go solve problems.
You see this interesting thing with a lot of defense tech companies where you have vets that want to get involved and then a lot of really excited young people.
Yeah.
It makes for a very kind of interesting mix. You know, like, especially look at our company.
Oh, yeah.
And we're not unique in that sense. How do you try and work with and help some of the younger, super high horsepower people that are coming into this space now?
Dude, that's again, great question. It's like you've interviewed people a whole bunch. But yeah, it's hard. Like, that one was that was definitely a transition touch point here. Like, there's one very talented engineer here who is very much young enough to be my son. And not in like that weird, like I was 15 years old kind of way, but like, hey, like legitimately I could have been my son.
Yeah.
And he's talking about, yeah, I'm going to Vegas for my birthday and all this. And I was like, oh man, and it's just a huge generational divide,
right?
You know, like, that sounds awful. I don't want to go anywhere near Vegas.
Yeah,
for my
but
birthday.
when you were 23, it was
it's great. Yeah, like, fuck yeah, let's do this.
15 people in a hotel room, the old ways.
Yeah, the old ways. Like, dude, I got a Geo Metro, and everybody's getting in. We're going to Vegas. Yeah,
fill it up. Stay at the Flamingo for $50.
Yeah, right. You might even remember it. Take turns in the bathroom.
Yeah,
but yeah, totally, all about it. That's hard. And so, because you don't want to come over and be like, hey man, I'm the old graybeard. Let me give you some life lessons and some coaching and stuff. Like, nobody wants you to do that. Like, if people come to you, I think that's different. So the tactic I've taken, and you can ask folks around whether or not it's been successful or not, but it's like, I kind of take two tactics. And one, I just kind of try to just show up and do my job and try to be as good at my job as I possibly can be. And hopefully the competence shines through.
Yeah. And
people go, hey, Matt, you might know a thing or two about this. Can you give me some advice? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. You don't want to overload them. You know, there's a little bit of that, but if they come to you, great. And the other one is, I'm a big fan of this, is the Socratic method of going, hey man, I hear what you're saying there. I'm just a dumb knuckle dragger. Can you talk me through how you're gonna work through this problem? And sometimes when you sit there and you ask the questions, the leading questions, and people kind of go, oh, I sounded a lot better in my head, you know? And at worst, like, I learned something, right? Like, you educated me. Like, I asked a dumb question. You took time, you educated me. I got smarter. So maybe, oh, hey, that does make sense. Okay, cool. But those are kind of the two tactics I've taken here. I think on the flip side, like, I've certainly learned a ton, especially on the technical side. Like, oh man, I had no idea what, like, all these stress failure analysis things we had to go through. Like, I would have taken it out in the field and like thrown rocks at it and been like, yeah, shit works. Let's go.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's been interesting, but I actually love it, man. Yeah. I love the dichotomy.
Yeah. All right. I want to kind of end the whole interview with a couple things here. First, what are you reading or listening to or consuming?
So I actually just finished a history of the Crusades it's called The Flame of Islam. It's written about 100 years ago. The history of the Crusades from the side of the Muslims.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was
The Flame of Islam.
Yeah, The Flame of Islam. And I'm drawing a blank in the author's name, but seeing the historical deep dive of going like, hey, this is what it looked like, because they basically first fought an insurgency and then they fought as a regular army, and what it came across as is the Crusaders, right? They had all the money, they had all the equipment, they had the technology. They had shit for military organization.
Yeah.
They could not read the ground. They sucked at logistics because they were sailing from Italy or Macedonia or somewhere, and they're landing on the Holy Land, and they have no supply chain. And so
what do? You steal from everyone around you.
Yeah.
And what do? You turn them against you.
Yep. And then you very quickly get cut off and overrun.
Yep. How much of the story like that you hear growing up that their armor was wrong for fighting in the desert is part of the story too?
Yeah, that's huge. Like there was a technological mismatch there.
Sure.
When you think in terms of like, they were very much ready to lay siege to castles.
Yeah.
And all the Muslims understood this. And they're like, well, we're just not going to be in castles.
Yeah. Come across the desert and fight me.
Right. Yeah. I'm going to make you march to me. And they did it. They took the bait over and over and over again. And they would show up for a battle, like dehydrated, no food, no rest, sunburnt, skin peeling off, and they'd get massacred. It just happened over and over and over again.
Interesting.
So you have to you're like, well, what lessons can we draw from this? Like, hey, number one, logistics matter. Yeah. And it goes back to a couple of my favorite military quotes. And I thought they were kind of lame the first time I heard them because I was like 25 and, logistics is lame. I just wanted to go to war. And it was Napoleon and Clausewitz both have, and actually Bradley all have quotes along the same lines, but it's basically like, amateurs talk tactics, professionals think logistics. Mm-hmm. Like if I can just pour logistics at a problem, I'm probably going to win. Mm-hmm. So and I just picked up Freedom's Forge.
Good one.
A buddy of mine just turned that on to me. He was like, hey, I think you're living this right now. So I literally just cracked that one last night. And I finished the history of the attack on Fort Sumter pretty recently too. Yeah,
it was that author, right, who's done a lot of the books. I think I read that one because it's more about like South Carolina and society. Yeah. It's fascinating.
And you realize I love that because he goes back, he talks about the background on it and like...
That's it. The Demon of Unrest.
Yeah, Demon of Unrest. Yeah. It's a great read. Eric Larson is very, very...
He's an excellent author.
Very digestible. Yeah. And his depth of historical research is fantastic.
Yeah. Have you read there's some above there too? Like, have you read the one living in Hitler's Berlin and stuff? That one he's a great author.
That one reads to me like watching a horror story. Yeah. Like one of those like slow creeping.
Slow motion. Yeah. You can't stop it.
Yeah. In the Garden of the Beasts. Yeah. Yeah. That was a great read too.
Do you read Devil in the White City?
Mm-hmm.
That one's sick.
Yeah. Yeah, Eric Larson.
It's about a serial killer in Chicago, the first big American serial killer.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Not serial killing is awesome.
Not the serial killing part, the story.
Yeah. No, so, what's fascinating about this book, if you haven't read it, for anyone who's listening, is that they talk a lot about how South Carolina was incredibly wealthy and incredibly chivalrous, and how the society almost dragged them because they felt insulted. The society dragged the entire South into the war. Yeah. They almost did not. They're like, we're going to do this. We know what the effect will be. And everyone was trying to give them off ramps and off ramps and off ramps. And they just, nope.
Nope. Our honor demands this.
Honor.
And you're like,
yeah.
Okay. I guess that's your concept of honor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Matt, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, absolutely, Dan. Thanks for the opportunity, man.
Thanks for listening to the Drone Wars podcast. If you liked what you heard today, please subscribe to catch all the latest insights for all things defense and geopolitics.